It has been 8 years since I made my first film about teaching the right technique in scything, and since then I have developed my own technique pretty much, and I've also learned to set words on what I'm actually doing, and I've been teaching hundreds of people on scythe courses. So it's time for new films about teaching the right technique, and we are making those films now. But in the meanwhile, I want to give you this film where I just briefly film myself telling my new experience, the new words, the new techniques. And if you want to comment anything, if you think I'm unclear on something, or if you have some questions, please just watch this video and give comments below, and we might have time to add your questions in the new films. Please watch. Yes, now we're going to learn the principles of scything, what you actually do when you mow the scythe. And we're going to trust me because I worked with the scythe for 15 years professionally, mowing nowadays at least 50 hectares every year with my team. I also have had scythe courses for many years for many people, and seen many people developed into good scythers in one day. I also designed my own snath here, my own Nordic snath we call it, and I also run a web shop for scythe gear where it's possible to buy this snath, and situated in Sweden, Slåttergubben.se. So we start with having no scythe in the hands, so just find yourself in a comfortable position here, like yoga, tai chi, any martial art position where you get a little bit broader than shoulder wide with your feet. Bend your legs a little bit, and your lower back you will like come inside as you are riding a horse maybe, or yeah. Move it inside, so you not bend it out like this, you know, the opposite, like this here. So you feel that your spine is really straight and strong. Because when you're mowing, have this in-bending here, that's when you are strong in the core, or can utilize the core a bit. So this position, in with your lower back, bent knees, more than shoulder wide, and from here we try to start like ice skating and just move from sideways like this. When you are on your left side, you're standing on your left foot completely. When you're here, you're standing on your right foot completely. So like this. And common mistakes here is you start to do like this, but your spine should always be in line here, completely vertical. And it's really good if you have the sun in your back and you can see the shadow, that you see that the body of the shadow of your body is actually moving from side to side like this. How much you actually do this sidewards movement depends on really when you are scything, but it's always to have this rhythm in the body. And don't lift your feet or your heels like this. Very easy that the heels come up. But let just drag your heels. Feel that when you're coming too much on one side, the toes are still in the ground, but the heels is dragged here, like this. So just lose your grip on the ground with your feet, but don't raise anything. Don't raise the heels or the complete feet. Common mistakes is like start doing like this, then you're not really getting the sidewards movement. So you can try to enhance it a little bit, just exaggerate this movement, move really much from side to side, and it resembles very much about ice skating actually. You can take your right hand on your left knee when you are at your left side. Then you change, just clap your inside of your thigh and try to really bend the knee. This is quite heavy workout actually if you're not strong. And this is just to exaggerate the moment that you shall feel when mowing. yeah, we stop there. A really good thing is to film yourself while you're doing this, because you will not do exactly the same as I do. I try to learn how to freestyle swimming through watching YouTube videos, and it's so easy to think that you do as they do, but you don't. This is more or less like this. It's very much things that needs to fit at the same time to get a decent mowing, but you can breathe whenever you want. That's a little bit easier. We start to add also the hands, because it's not only a sidewards movement, you have some rotation in the mowing, of course. So when you stand on your right foot, stretch out your left arm so the elbow is completely straight. Your right hand, you fit in the sidfläsket. We need to find a good English word for that. Like this. And then when you're going over to the left foot, you just exchange these arms. Try to go back with a really edgy elbow. Imagine there is someone you don't like on your back, so you hit that one here with your elbow. Just add on this moment. Common thing here now is that you start to go out like this. But you should not. You should feel that you have still the spine really concentrated here, and you're not like exaggerating this, but just here. It resembles very much about the karate, the basic karate hit, like here, bam, bam. When you do this just by no force, you don't get any force, but if you come with the core, bam, 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 you find it from here. So it's from the core the power comes. The same with the scything. Bam. And keep the palms here on the same height above the ground all the time. Low. Here. And move from side to side. Really feel that you are like in some kind of weightless position here. You can feel that, oh, bam, and bam. You're like hanging a little bit here in the air. Then comes the next moment. Bam. And now we're not doing this with any like power or force, but anyway you can think that it's equally important to draw the hand back and pull the other one out. And don't cheat on stretching the whole elbow out here. So don't come like this. Just stretch it out really. But not this one. Feel like you still have the power concentrated here. And you can just keep on looking straight forward actually. And if you have a shadow, you see that it still moves a little bit from side to side. And if you don't have a shadow, you can watch something, you can take a spot a little bit closer and watch it on another spot a little bit more far away, and you see that it actually moves a little bit. You need some more power when you go from right to left when you actually mow the grass, and when you come back it's more of a relaxed moment, of course. So to gain some of that power, a good thing is the term as to grass. That's a little bump here with your butt. So when you're like hanging here in the air on your right side and start to draw back the left elbow, you also drop the ass a little bit. So bam, and drop, and drop, and drop, and drop, and drop, and drop. What you actually do is you press the weight of your the whole core right down in the lower handle, so you get some pressure to the soil and also some pressure forward. So you bam and bam and bam and bam. But because you work pretty much with contact with the soil when you mow, so this contact you can enable really good with just make a little bit marking when you drop your butt. Bam. All these movements you can like exaggerate them or make them much more closer depending on your movability, on your body, and how well fit you are, of course. So it's really possible just to do a little, but still it's the same way of catching the energy, and of catching the energy is better to exaggerate the movements a little bit in the beginning, like this. Yes, we can also right now just imagine that we like throw away the snaff on this side when start catching, and then we grab it on the way back. Throw away and grab it. So while we're doing this, we can actually try to open our hands here before we lower our butt and close them. Open, close, open, close, or throw away, close, throw away and grab, throw away and grab, throw away and grab, throw away, grab, throw away, grab, throw away, grab, throw away, grab. Because as in many other things, example for when you're driving, when you're an unexperienced driver, you hold the steer wheel really tight, and when you're more experienced, you relax, and it's the same with this. We also need to figure out how we move forward while we're mowing, how we move forward while we're mowing. It's actually really easy, but as it's many things to remember, easy to forget as well. So while we are on the left foot, we are moving the right foot a couple of centimeters forward, and it's the foot which decides how much grass you will cut. It's not you, because otherwise you will cut grass further and further away from you. So just move each foot like a couple of centimeters forward as you go forward. And the more pressure you will put down in the foot here, when standing, pushing your body weight here, the more you will see there are like two lines after you in the grass after when you cut. And these footsteps can of course be varying depending on how easy grass you are mowing, so it can depend on anything between 2 centimeters and maybe 20 up to 30 in extreme cases. Okay, so now we shall start practice with a scythe in the hands. And you have a well-peened scythe, you have sharpened it with a honing stone, you have set the handles right and everything. As in our other video that's called setting up the scythe. Now this can feel a little bit strange when you suddenly start to hold a scythe in your hands. What shall we do? Yeah, we shall not move up in the sky, but be close to the ground. That's a really top rule. And then it's really good to start on a gravel road, because if the lay of the is right, when you mow it along here, you see that the very cutting edge will not touch the stones, the small stones here that's riding above. So we are practicing this. You see, I'm throwing out my arms like this here, and I'm catching here. I have a line here that's really useful. So a very common mistake is that you go back too much and then you are like turning your torso too much, and from that very outer like turn, you will not gain that energy. So it's much better to not turn the torso, but just stretch it out like this. You see, I'm hardly turning, just a little bit. Then if I draw a line here between my toe tips, the stroke starts where you have your tip on that line here, or just slightly back maybe, but not back here. But try to be around this line here, and then you catch the grass and you move like sidewards a little bit, and ends up at that line again with the tip. And along this stroke you have like a catch phase where you, or accelerating phase here a little bit, then you catch the grass and then you start to mow sidewards like this. When you catch, you do the as to grass, you press down your energy in the lower handle and raise. If you press down here, you need to raise the upper hand, of course. That's to compensate, otherwise it will just sink. So feel that your pressure is, when you are here, the pressure should be like on the center of the blade, and then at the end the pressure is rather at the tip of the blade. So you're like catching and then rolling over. So in the actual stroke you will lay down or turn the wrists downwards. Or with the Nordic Scythe, it's actually that you turn and you regulate the tip with this movement, with your whole underarm. If you have that's a little bit more relaxing for the wrists. That's one of the virtues with the Nordic. If you happen to have a Austrian Scythe, this is the world most soldest Scythe so far. I think so, at least in Europe. It's the same here, same moment. Like it doesn't matter which type of Scythe you have. I mean, these basic principles are really the same. Catch, but here it relies more on your wrist, and the wrist will turn a little bit forward. So try to do this. Actually, it's really good to do here with some kind of line, because when you have it here, you have the tip on your line, then you don't go forward so much. So you try to just come a little bit outwards here and then back. This sound, this scraping, that's really educating for you, because when you are doing this, you start not to be afraid of touching the ground and having contact with the ground all the time. So here you make pressure. On your way back, relax in your hands, let the tip rest down and just raise it. Maybe you throw it. If you want to catch a lot of grass, you like relax and throw it, and then you catch. And when you catch here, you start already here to go back a little bit with your elbow. When you catch your grass, you're also doing as to grass. Bam! Bam! It's dropping the knees. Just keep on filming yourself, because it's really easy to think that you are on the ground, but then you come like this anyway. Very common to end up like this. That's a mistake, with the tip up instead. Then you will not cut the grass at the end. Very common to raise it here and to more chop the grass like this, but it's much of the rotation you have in your arms. And what happened in your arms is actually a consequence of when you're throwing them up with your core, where you're strong, and your legs. Bam. And as you come closer to your body with the scythe, you also get stronger and have more control. A very, very common mistake is to go out here and then you lean your back forward, and you can end up like here as well. There you have no strength at all, no control. So just remember to like pull the scythe around your hip and around your thigh like this. Throw it out a little bit here, but then come close to you and move it around your hip. Try to drop your left hand in your back pocket. The scale test. It's really hard to like explain what actually a pressure to the ground is, but if you have a scale, you can set it to 4.5 kilo, and then you stand like as if you were just in front of you. You put the center of the blade on the scale, and you see where is 4.5 kilo. That's a really firm pressure on the ground that you usually don't have. Actually, it's I mean, it's really worthless to apply more pressure on the ground that is needed. But sometimes, in some conditions, this 4.5 kilo is actually needed if it's really tough grass, even if you have the super sharp scythe. And when you are at the very tip of your end of your stroke, you can set it to 1.5 kilo. You stand like this, parallel with your feet, with your toes, and then pretend that you are the end of the stroke, and then feel 1.5 kilo like this. Yes, and then we can take mowing on short grass. That's like the next step after you've practiced on gravel and maybe film yourself. You need to try to mow on short grass. Now we need to sharpen this up, but anyway. Just remember to practice this, and feel also that you get the right hafting angle. This, the angle that the grass is cutted with. You can of course set this angle with the blade like this, as shown in the setting angles film, but you need also to find out your best hafting angle, and you can always compensate with this. When you catch the grass, you can regulate the hafting angle. If you're holding it out like this all the time, you get a very more like 90 degrees angle. If you move like this, bam, bam. But if you like come here, start to mow the elbow inside, you get a more decent hafting angle throughout your stroke. So you need to like find this. You see, when I'm here, when you're controlling the hafting angle here, you're actually using, there's like a moment in the stroke here when you catch, when the lower handle feels like a hub. So you can try to do this by holding in your elbow, in your side, holding up your scythe a little bit. So now in this exercise you shall not try to mow grass. It's only trying to feel like this is a hub. This hand is not going to mow a single way. So just hold it completely still. Use it as a hub. And try to just push the scythe away, come back, push away, come back. And you can also grab the scythe like here on the underside, and you just use your left arm as a pump. You like feel like pumping, like this pump, up and down, out and in, out. You see how the scythe actually is doing a cutting moment here. It catches and angles up into the right cutting angle. So just stand here completely still. You can have a friend just holding his hand or her hand just above here, trying to see that you are not actually mowing the hand, just to feel that the hub moment. This is really good. Sometimes if it's really tricky and narrow when you mow, or you're just going to cut some small grass straws or anything, you can come here like and just doing this. You see, I'm more or less doing just the hub rotation here, and I get a really nice cutting angle for a small thing. That's really nice if you are narrow between stones and so. Instead of very many people instead falls into this. This is you're not getting the core thing here. You're just getting a completely wrong angle of cutting the grass when it starts to be a little bit tricky. And it's also much more easier to damage the cutting edge if you're coming straight towards, rather in a good hafting angle. You see, my left arm just goes as a pump, and I still use a little bit of this core moment, and while I'm up here I'm standing on my right foot, and when I'm here I'm more on my left. So I'm still using these basic movements in my body, but very easy. Yeah, this is the hub thing. I teach it to my professional workers each year. We're doing the hub exercise, because you always need to repeat that, to remember that it's there in a scythe stroke. You say that when you're able to cut the lawn perfectly with the scythe, then you are ready for mowing higher grass. One of the advantages with start to practice on really low grass is that there is no room for mistakes, more or less, that you need to be on the ground all the time, otherwise nothing will be cut. But you should always be able to cut a lawn with a scythe. Otherwise it's not sharp enough, your angles are wrong. When it looks nice on the lawn, then you start to get high grass. And the principles is that you work very much in front of your body. That's where your focus are. It's not only on your right side. So when you have mowed a little bit, you mow in rows in front of you, and you mow the grass from right to the left, so the grass will be in a nice row here. Hopefully you have a straight edge here to follow after the former man or woman who mowed. Probably it was you. A good thing to look at here is that there is a very distinct area between cutted and uncutted straws. So there is like no slope, no half pipe. So this line is what you want to achieve, a very distinct line between cutted and uncutted. How broad this your pathway is you mow, that's totally depending on the grass, of course, and on your skills and on your strength and conditions. It can be like up from maybe 1 meter 30 centimeters up to 3 meters wide, but there is no need to start super wide, and there is definitely no need of being a super strong or super fit person for this, because one of the really good exercises is actually to try to mow grass with more or less no power at all. You see, I'm doing these movements, but I'm doing it slow, and if you can do it slow, it means that the scythe also is really sharp. You see here, I'm relaxed with my hands on my way back, and grab them here and come. I'm doing the hub rotation here. And in this condition, when it's high grass, nice straws, I'm hardly applying no pressure at all on the ground, and still it looks, you see, super like a just cutted lawn here. Maybe I'm putting half kilo now. It's more or less just the weight of the scythe. And here, you know, I'm hardly putting in any energy at all in these strokes. It's a little coming from here when you're pulling back your left arm. Yeah, and what I'm actually doing here now is, you see, I'm coming here to the line, maybe a little bit backwards from the line. I'm catching here, catching a little bit of the grass, and start pulling in my elbow and lifting my weight over. So I'm actually doing this, but in a more concentrated and not so obvious form. The shape of the circle here should be like if you imagine if you have a new moon shaped like this, or if you see a swift from underside, you should be able to put that swift silhouette here, and that's very important to have this shape. Many people tend to get more of a quarter of a circle, so it just goes like this here, and there are two reasons to that. One is that you have the foot in the wrong position, because you see now I have this foot like maybe 30-40 centimeters inwards from the line from the next person. You need to have it at least at the same line, but the wider you want to take, the more inside of course you go. But I really recommend to step a little bit in with your left foot, at least from this line, so you also mow grass on your left side of your core body, because that's a much more convenient way of mowing. So one is the foot position, and the other reason that you have more of a quarter of a circle is that you are not going back with the edgy elbow, that you rather find yourself cut like this from here up to here, and here you have no strength, nothing. It will just vanish out here. So pull your scythe really back here. That's when it's really nice to see that this shape actually turns back towards you, towards the row here. Like pull it back. Like if I'm strong, I can mow much more with force, you see, like this. And then I also make a little bit more pressure into the ground. Maybe I had like 2 kilos pressure down there now, while I was taking a little bit more because it's a rougher cut. I need to apply some pressure, otherwise it will be even more leftovers like this. You see where the blades ends up? It's with a tip under the row, and with the ring where the scythe attached to the scythe a little bit raised, like half foot, maybe 10-15 centimeters, as I roll over to the tip at the end of the stroke. And remember, let your feet decide how deep you go. Don't go further if the result is not good. So then step back, rather lean back, rather that you like feel that you more or less fall back, because that's when you can apply much more nice pressure into the lower handle and lift your left handle. With when you have a straight spine and more or less feel like you're going back, then you also come closer with your scythe towards your feet. So it's tough to estimate that in centimeters, but here maybe it's 50 centimeters in front of my feet. It's not further, so just try to keep close and don't take too much. Find the right cutting angle here, the hafting angle that actually cuts from beginning, and think very much of mowing sidewards, like here, catch and just drag it sidewards like this. Catch sidewards. It's a very, very common mistake is to find yourself that you come in too much rotational mode. You see, if you grab this really hard and you're not relaxed in your hands and you're not relaxed anywhere, you start to go like this. If you're too stiff, it's like hammering like this and you not get the rotation. If you start to like use your wrist, it's like using underarm and wrist. And if you really like open up your arms here, relax, and then grab the scythe on your way back here. Grab, oh, grab. And it can really helps to feel that you like throw away the scythe. Just open up your hands here and then grab the handles. That's a way of not getting tired as well, of course, just to not keep them stiff all the time. But if you have them really stiff, it's really hard to get actually this hub rotation. It's much easier if you open up here. Open up and then catch, like throw away and catch, throw away and catch. One thing that's really good is to just look on the grass actually, what happens. Really see here if you have the line distinct, watch under your row if there is any grass left, evaluate, think what can be wrong. If it's grass left there, you need to lower the tip. The grass left here, you don't have the right cutting angle from the beginning, or you, very common, raise this too much. If you raise it, it will become like this, you see, and then you have the slope here. It's really annoying for the next person, which is probably you, to actually see where he or she shall stop cutting, because the last person was actually here with the scythe and cut straws, but it's first here that they are cut decently short enough. This makes this overlap. That's not so nice. If you have a Nordic scythe, a very good practice is to mow with open hand when you are a new beginner. So as fast as you start to mow forward with the blade, just open up the hand and press with your palm here, because that's what you actually do. But if you open it up, you're not able to lift it. That's the thing, and you need to have the control here of the tip. And it's the same with the Austrian. I think we're just throwing it away. Yeah, you're like opening up your hands like this, and then grab it, come back. Yeah, there are a different way of learning how to scythe. This is my way.